Darth Revan is a unique character in Star Wars lore, in that we don't have a lot of examples of his in-lore feats, but we know he's one of the most powerful characters that exists. At first though, concerning dueling, I believed Revan to be a competent duelist within the Star Wars expanded universe, a tactician and a warrior of great skill, certainly, but not among the elite duelists of the galaxy. Figures like Luke Skywalker, Tula Cord, or Yoda seem to occupy a higher echelon of lightsaber mastery, their abilities undeniable and legendary. Revan, in comparison, appeared to me as a powerful Force user whose strengths lay more in strategy, leadership, and adaptability than in pure lightsaber combat. But as I delve deeper into how Revan approaches duels, I fear I have fallen into the very trap that has been laid for so many. A trap that countless adversaries have entered and never escaped. Revan's true brilliance as a duelist lies not in flashy technique or overwhelming physicality, but in his unmatched adaptability, his ability to analyze and exploit. He doesn't simply fight. Revan dissects his opponent, dismantling their strengths and exposing their vulnerabilities in every engagement. Revan's mind is as dangerous as his blade is, his strategy woven into every movement. This is what makes Revan special and terrifying. He operates on a level few combatants can match, seamlessly blending raw lightsaber skill with Force mastery. His dueling style is a symphony of misdirection, deception, and ruthless efficiency. When facing Revan, one may believe that they hold the upper hand, only to realize too late that they've been playing into his design all along. I have been forced to drastically reevaluate my initial assessment. Revan is not just a decent duelist, he's one of the most dangerous lightsaber masters in all of the lore. His approach to combat elevates him into the same league as the greats, not just because of raw power or finesse alone, but because of his ability to turn any fight into a deadly game of strategy, one that he rarely loses. Revan may very well be one of the finest duelists in the galaxy, and to underestimate him is to court death. On the surface, Revan's combat style appeared to lean heavily on Force-based abilities. His reliance on the Force was undeniable, and his lightsaber form seemed almost tailored to create opportunities for this, to tap into his true power, his unparalleled mastery and knowledge of the Force. To many, this may suggest a weakness in Revan's blade work, as if his lightsaber were meant to be a placeholder, merely a secondary tool to complement his Force dominance. But Revan's style is so much greater than that. Revan's chosen lightsaber form, I believe, was Form 6 Nyman, often dismissed by Jedi and Sith alike as a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none form. It lacks the acrobatics of Ataru, the defensive refinement of Sarisu, or the dueling precision of Makashi. For most practitioners, it is a safe, adaptable form with no extremes to boast. Yet, to Revan, Nyman was transformed. He used it not as a crutch, but as a versatile weapon, exploiting its flexibility to seamlessly integrate his lightsaber skills and his Force techniques. Revan was technique and power. Nyman's lack of specialization was not a limitation for Revan, but was a strength. It allowed him to fluidly adapt to any opponent or any situation, switching from blade work to Force attacks in a way that was seamless and unpredictable. Revan's enemies often expected Force to be his crutch, underestimating his proficiency with the lightsaber. However, they would soon learn. Revan was as deadly with the lightsaber as he was with his mind and with the Force. Revan's mastery of Nyman showcased his ability to think beyond the traditional limitations of combat. He used the form's supposed weaknesses as a trap, baiting the enemy into underestimating him. While others saw Nyman as a compromise, Revan saw it as a foundation for his unique hybridized style. His adaptability, intelligence, and blending of lightsaber combat with the Force elevated him far beyond the form's reputation, making Revan one of the galaxy's most formidable duelists, and certainly in the debate for one of the best Nyman practitioners. It is a testament to his brilliance. At first, over-reliance on the Force, which was a weakness, in reality is the ultimate expression of versatility. It was a part of an intricate strategy that made Revan nearly impossible to predict or to overcome. Nyman in Revan's hands became a weapon as powerful as the Force itself. His use of Form 6 was to indicate a killing blow, the moment that signaled the beginning of the end. For most, Form 6 was a balanced, versatile form meant for generalists, but to Revan, it became something far deadlier. What made his Nyman so lethal wasn't the form itself, but the way Revan wielded it in the culmination of a broad strategy. It was a perfect, refined weapon, cutting down enemies with precision and purpose, backed by whatever approach was best suited for that specific battle at hand. But this is where things get interesting. I think Revan is so much more than just Form 6. I actually think he's a master of 2 other lightsaber combat forms. Revan typically employed 2 distinct approaches to combat, each tailoring the level of threat or skill posed by an enemy. Against dangerous and particularly skilled enemies, Revan would often use Form 5 Jamso, the aggressive, powerful, and overwhelming variant. Form 5 allowed Revan to dominate the battlefield early, testing the limits of his opponent's defenses and applying relentless pressure to provoke mistakes. Revan's use of the form was evident, yet it was never his intention to finish fights with Form 5, something that it was normally amazing at. Instead, it was a probe, a calculated opening to gather information about his enemy. What are their strengths? What are their vulnerabilities? He tested this with overwhelming offense. But Revan is even better than that. Just as often, he would take the opposite approach, opening a duel with Form 3 Surisu. Unlike the raw offense of Form 5, Surisu's defensive nature allowed Revan to weather his opponent's storm, carefully analyzing their patterns and their strategy. Revan's defense was never passive. It was a deliberate act of control. Each block, parry, and deflection was designed to reveal something about his adversary, how they moved, how they thought, what were their weaknesses, what are their strengths. These styles, 5 and 3, were not for Revan the tools to end a fight, as they were the duelists such as Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, but for Revan, they were groundwork, the opening acts of a larger plan. His genius was his mind, always, working several steps ahead of everybody else, calculating every possibility, every contingency like a galactic Sherlock Holmes. Revan didn't just fight his enemy, he studied them, then he broke them, and he understood every strike. By the time Revan made the decisive move, he had already concocted the plan. Every motion of the blade and step of his foot was a calculated piece of a great strategy, one set in motion 10 moves earlier. It was Nyman, his masterful integration of lightsaber combat and force power that always delivered the decisive blow. The versatility of 6 in Revan's hands allowed him to seamlessly switch tactics, exploiting every vulnerability that he had uncovered. By the time Revan struck with Nyman, the battle was no longer a contest, it was a foregone conclusion. His opponent already defeated, they just didn't realize it yet. Revan was a genius with the lightsaber as well, but he never stuck to one form. In fact, we never really ever hear Revan talk about lightsaber combat, but what we do learn a lot about Revan is his combat in general, how he transforms it all into a chess match played on the plane of his mind. Nyman was not a fallback nor a weakness. It was a finishing stroke, a weapon of precision that could adapt to any opponent or any style. Whether through the raw power of Form 5, the unbreakable defense of Form 3, or the deadly versatility of Nyman, Revan proved that his lightsaber skill, like his mind, were among the sharpest of the galaxy. Revan has always been a master at using tools and weapons at his disposal, a tactician who views combat more than just a contest of strength or skill. For Revan, the lightsaber and the Force were not separate, but 2 halves of the same whole, each informing and enhancing the other. This philosophy profoundly shaped his approach to battle, as his choice of Form 6 Nyman was a style that perfectly suited the broader understanding of what it meant to be a warrior and what it meant to use the Force. While many Jedi and Sith viewed the lightsaber as their primary weapon and the Force as their secondary aid, Revan broke this rule too, seeing no such division. Revan believed that true mastery came from integrating both the seamless, unified strategy of the Force and the lightsaber. The Force was not a tool but an extension of himself, as was his blade. Together they created a dynamic and adaptive style, as he dominated battles on every level, physical, mental, spiritual. Revan used the Force not just to enhance his movement or strength, but to dictate the flow of the battle. Whether hurling opponents with telekinesis, blinding them with Force-based illusions, or strategically controlling the terrain, Revan turned the Force into an extension of his blade, and vice versa. Revan's mastery of this holistic approach made him extraordinarily versatile, where other combatants may fall into patterns or rely too heavily on either their blade or the Force. Revan, who always breaks the rules, did so here as well. He was able to outthink and outmaneuver his opponents who could not grasp the breadth of his capability. For Revan, Victory was not just about the lightsaber or the Force. It was about doing anything he could to dismantle his enemy.